Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, just a few house rules. So before we begin, if you can just please kindly turn off your notifications, as well as mute yourself. And just a reminder that we will be taking question and answers at the end of the session. So if you can just please post them um, in the chat box. You'll just see there an indication of how to post. There's a Q&A option that you can select. So that's just a few house rules. And then just a reminder that tonight's presentation, you will be getting the slides as well as the video recording of this session. These will be shared with you within the next few days. And then you'll also be getting a certificate of attendance. We will be displaying a QR code towards the end of the session that you can just kindly scan. That will take you to a link of a survey that you need to complete in order for you to get your certificate of attendance. All right, just a few things about us as the Engineering College of Science and Technology. This is our mission, and then these are just some of our interesting facts about us and our selling points. We are affordable career-ready education that we provide. We are a flexible blended learning model. We also have a clear pathway to international master's degree with our sister colleges in the UK as well as Australia. Also, we offer on-hand and practical skills through our workshops. We offer and we give you an experienced engineering experience from our lecturers who are experienced engineers. We are also centrally located in Midrand, just for ease of access. And we are an engineering-focused institution. Just a few details that I just want to take you through. We've got upcoming webinars, so if you can just please diarize these. We have got one coming up on the 29th of July. That is the future of engineering, AI in engineering. We have another one on the 12th of August, which is what do engineers actually do? Our upcoming events, we've got the ECST Open Day. This is an in-person event. If you can just please attend, this will be taking place on the 22nd of August. So please inform your colleagues, inform students that you know might be interested in attending our college. Again, just please diarize these. You can also find them on our website. And again, the slides will be shared, so you can also just access this information after the presentation. All right, we also have upcoming courses, which is our Bachelor of Engineering Technology and Electrical Engineering. We are already having an intake for this one, but still accepting some applications. The starting date is the 3rd of August, and then for our 2027 intake, still in the same program, this will be taking place on February 2027. However, applications are open, so you can gladly access our website, and you'll see there that the applications are there. You can inquire, you can apply for next year. All right, so for tonight's webinar, we will be addressing the topic Engineering in South Africa using electrical and mechanical engineering to solve real-world problems. And to take us through this presentation is our very own mechanical engineer, Mr. Eldridge Mafumo, as well as our electrical engineer, Mr. Samkelo Nene. And then for the agenda, it will be infrastructure and energy challenges. We've got community and economic development, local challenges as opportunity for innovation, as well as some references that they will be taking you through. So I am going to hand over to Mr. Samkelo Nene to start the presentation. And just before I forget, tonight's presentation will be in a discussion format. So there will be a discussion between Eldridge as well as Samkelo. And then also they will be addressing some questions that we received prior before this presentation. Thereafter, we will be opening for Q&A. So just please a friendly reminder to just drop your questions in the Q&A box, and those will be addressed on a later stage. Thank you very much. Samkelo, over to you.
Thank you, Busi. Good day to everyone. Um, so as Wusi said today, it's really about discussion regarding the challenges that we're facing as a country with respect to engineering, innovation, and technology. So South Africa, as it stands, we're at crossroads. So uh, where engineering is not just about technical solutions, but also about shaping the future of our communities, our country, as well as our economy. So today's conversation will be guided by these topics as you see on the screen, or rather realities that we face. So starting from the infrastructure and the energy challenges, and then also we'll look into community and economic development and well as local challenges. So I'll quickly go over the slides and then we'll start our discussions. As you know, the issues we have from our infrastructure, the state of our roads, and also the state of our transportation system, in particular the rail systems. Even though we know that the rail system, when it comes to transportation, it's the most efficient of all the transport. However, we have challenges when it comes to our own rail system as a country. So we'll be looking into that in terms of commuting as passengers, and also when you look at in terms of transporting freight, uh, or rather cargo. As you see, or rather as you know, or rather see as well, on roads we still have a number of trucks transporting cargo, whereas we know that rail is the most efficient way of doing it. However, we'll get into that, and then we'll also speak about the energy challenges. Again, we want to transition from coal when it comes to energy, and also other fossil fuel sources, or fossil fuel based or carbon based sources. We want to also integrate renewables, which also brings challenges to our energy systems. And then we'll touch regarding water infrastructure as well. You know that our country is a semi-arid country, so uh, we can say semi-desert. We're almost there, which means water is scarce. However, you find that even though our country is semi-arid, if you look at our infrastructure as well, it needs some obviously innovation to make sure that we're able to preserve water. So we will touch on that as well. And then going on to the next slide, then we'll speak about then how
Sorry,
can we
Samkelo,
can
can you please take control of the slides?
I'm moving it. So can you see the second one?
I'm not too sure. Can someone else from the team please confirm that it's moving? Okay, there we
So
go.
I'm on community and economic development. That's where
Yes,
I
that
moved
looks
to.
good. Yep.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
So okay, let me go back. So however, these challenges are not the end of the world. We can use these challenges then to better our communities and also develop our economy and also build our skills. So that's where engineering comes in, where we take these problems and then we develop economy, communities, skills, and so forth. And then lastly, then we will then look into when it comes to, as I've said, that we can use this as opportunities as well. However, the world is also shifting when it comes to the way we do things. We're looking in terms of efficiency, in terms of reducing global warming, climate change. So, how are we going then to address those challenges we face as a country at the same time while also meeting the obligations we have to the world when it comes to helping with the just transitions rather. Let me not say energy because some people they feel like the transition are for not just for energy but also in terms of socio-economic development as well. So in essence, today we will explore the role of young engineers, transformative technologies, and also skills that are needed to drive. And also, we must remember that engineering is more than equation, mathematics, physics, and machines. It's about resilience, collaboration, and also unlocking these opportunities I was speaking about that we can, uh, or rather, we can come up with from these challenges that can then redefine South Africa's development path. So this dialogue is about how engineers can move from problem solvers to nation builders. So yeah, so that's pretty much what we will discuss today. As Busi said, thereafter we'll also address some of the challenges that we receive regarding this topic. So coming to you, Mr. Aldrich, I would like to invite you into the conversation. Speaking of the infrastructure, example as I've just mentioned regarding our transportation system from roads to also the rail system and so forth. For example, there are people, as you know, or you may know, that they take about probably two taxis to get to where they go. However, as I've said, that's the rail system is known to be efficient. You can take basically one trip to a place. However, people end up taking two trips using taxis. What are some of the innovation when it comes to the mechanical aspect of things that can extend the lifespan of transport systems, such as rail systems?
Thank you, Samkelo, and thank you also to all of the viewers that are joining us today. It's a great opportunity to have you join us. And thank you again, Samkelo, for highlighting all of those challenges that we are currently experiencing in our communities and right here in South Africa as a country. So yes, in fact, that's I mean, quite a crucial question that you just posed right there. And especially, I would actually go a further step and actually try to contextualize that within the context of South Africa. We are actually experiencing at the moment. A huge crisis with our rather inefficient rail system, if I can put it that way. Many people actually familiar with, if I can give an example, we had, with Transnet, I mean, they've, uh, highlighted on several occasions how their rail infrastructure is underperforming. PRASA as well, they've been experiencing quite a number of challenges, although they are actually now trying to revitalize it. And and as you rightly stated, when the rail system is poorly functioning, the end effect of that is sustained and increased pressure on the roads now. I remember actually very well a couple of days back, someone mentioning that, driving on the roads, particularly in KZN now, from Pietermaritzburg and to Durban, I would like to say, in fact, the entire country. He was saying, I have noticed that there is now an increased number of trucks, right? What causes that? It's because our rail infrastructure is underperforming. Our rail system is underperforming. So therefore, there is that sustained pressure on our roads, right? So, and to add on to that, some of the key challenges, like what is actually then causing that, right? So it's not only poor maintenance systems, it's also vandalism, right? Vandalism, I think, is one of the key challenges that is the key driver of these problems that we are currently experiencing. So I'll go on to say, so then what are some of the solutions then that we can implement to improve our rail system? Maintenance is absolutely key. Predictive maintenance, preventive maintenance, condition-based maintenance systems. We need to absolutely be strict in instituting efficient maintenance systems in place that we strictly adhere to. Number two, we also need perhaps speaking of new innovations, right? This is where Samkelo, you and I come in trying to come up maybe with new innovations. I would say some sort of a tamper-proof technology, some sort of a tamper-proof systems that ensures that our rail system is not vandalized, right? I mean, this has been documented so much, by officials, that are, managing our public rail systems, that there is so much vandalism that happens. I mean, blocks of rail are cut off and then sold, to scrapyards and all of that. So if you can come with tamper-proof systems that ensure that it's almost impossible, if not completely impossible, to vandalize or steal parts of that vital infrastructure, that would be absolutely amazing. Of course, in addition to great, terrific maintenance systems that ensures that our systems do not fail; they continuously run like a well-oiled machine.
Great, great. So you mentioned a very important point to protect our assets as a country because again, these are our assets. The roads are owned by states, the rail system as well. Obviously, as much as they speak about now bringing in the privates to have this public-private collaboration, but they are owned by the state. So it's very important then to protect these assets. Uh, so
Absolutely, Samkelo. Yes. In fact, not so long ago, there was actually some sort of discussions between key mining companies, actually with Transnet, right? So these private mining companies are saying, look, what role can we actually play in assisting you to maintain the rail infrastructure, our rail infrastructure? Because look, ultimately, all of these companies are also benefiting. An efficient rail system is a huge part. Constitutes rather a huge part of the efficient operations of these mines. They need to be able to sell, their products overseas and all of that. I think Exaro is one such company. Exaro is one of South Africa's biggest coal miners, right? Most of their coal, they not only sell it locally, but they also do export quite a lot of coal. They need to be able to move that coal to different parts of the country, and as an efficient rail infrastructure is vital to them achieving that. So that is again one of the key reasons why they're so eager to partner up with Transnet to help in assisting or in alleviating such challenges. So it is vital, Samkelo, as you state, that these public-private collaborations, come in handy, be established to help fix such problems.
yes. And also, speaking about these challenges, I feel like they're also interconnected because I'm not sure if we still use coal coal trains because our trains now runs on electricity, is it? Right? So
Definitely.
another challenge is electricity and energy systems.
Yes.
So I feel like these are all interconnected in a way because now there's another challenge as well. We know we are coming off from load shedding and all those things. How can we then improve energy systems to ensure that they're reliable?
Mm.
Whether it is thermal plants or whether it is now the renewable plants that we want to bring in into the system. How can we improve that?
Mm. Absolutely, Samkelo. It's again another vital and interesting question. In fact, if you are to look at what our major electricity supply here in South Africa, ESCOM, I think we need to give them credit. They've done a tremendous job in improving our electricity supply, their generation capacity over the last couple of years. I think over the last 3 or so years, right? Because I think about 4 or 5 years back, we actually had quite a low point. I think we were having, several hours of load shedding each day. I think pretty much almost each and every South African experienced this, and quite a number of South Africans had to resort to other solutions, such as renewable energy solutions, solar power systems, be it generators or be it, any other, solutions that they could come up with. I think in a short space of time, you could see quite a number of houses in several communities throughout the country with solar systems, with all those solar panels installed, on top of the roofs, right? Just as a way of trying to mitigate the risk the risks of load shedding. However, fortunately, I think the team at ESCOM has now, I think, tremendously improved the performance. I think they were attributing some of their success again to maintenance. Maintenance is absolutely key, number one, right? I think they also partnered up with OEMs. These are original equipment manufacturers. So there are a number of companies that I think ESCOM partners up with that supply their turbines. These are kind of machinery that is used in power generation. So I think some of those companies are like, GE, General Electric. So they are absolutely vital now. Partnering up with such companies is absolutely vital now in ensuring that, the maintenance systems are not only well established, but are actually done correctly and by competent professionals that have been trained by the actual manufacturers of this equipment. So this yielded great results, as most of us can actually see now, right? So yes, I think some parts of the country are still experiencing some challenges. We now refer to it as load reduction, but we also cannot deny that there's been significant improvements in that. So some people also say, look, there has been lessened pressure on the grid as well due to many players opting for renewable energy, right? Which is also true, absolutely, if you look at it in that manner, right? But of course, we do actually have to attribute that to also, improved performance from ESCOM side. But going forward, I suppose, I think, another key thing that you actually referred to is what are some maybe long-term solutions that we can then also implement to ensure that we never go back to where we are coming from. So it's people like you and I, Samkelo, that have to come up with such sustainable solutions, right? Other experts suggest also nuclear energy. It was once suggested here in South Africa at some point, but
Yeah, that's true.
yes, but the idea wasn't well received. I think one of the key concerns was too expensive, and I think the two key concerns was it's too expensive and the safety issues. I don't know, perhaps maybe I should maybe pick your thoughts on this one, Samkelo. What do you think about nuclear energy as a sustained solution to the power supply?
Well, it's non-negotiable, according to me. Again, this is my opinion, because obviously ESCOM wanted to commission, and if you look at their plan, or rather not their plan, well, they also have their decommissioning plan. However, also if you look at the IRP, which is the integrated resource plan, which speaks about then the demand going forward. So it has the from now to 2030, then and then beyond 2030. If you look at both those plans, so by 2030 or after 2030, a lot of plants or coal plants will be decommissioned, right?
Yes,
Which
correct.
means we are reducing coal. And again, from our understanding, coal is or provide then this base power. This base power. We understand the nature of renewables, that they're intermittent and also they are not, as reliable as the non-renewable sources. Your wind, you can't control wind. You can't call in wind. You can't call in the sun radiation on the panel. You know, so we need something to balance them. So it's funny enough that in our country, what has been happening is that there've there've been challenges regarding nuclear and gas, because it's not just nuclear, even gas, the one that was which eventually they did now got approved in Richards Bay. So Eskom will be building gas from Mozambique. As we know, Mozambique supplies us with the gas. So gas will work well with renewable, because gas, you are able to bring it quickly onto the system. I see, unlike your coal or nuclear thermal powers, they need time for you to bring into the system. Whereas your gas, your diesel, hence diesels are as well is used as peak plant, because you're able to call it quickly to meet the demand. So apart from that, we need sources like gas to bring the flexibility when renewable suddenly stop meeting or producing as we expect them to. And also we need nuclear as well to give us that base power. Again, as a country, we also have ambitions to industrialize. So it's impossible to industrialize on an unreliable source such as uh, solar and wind. If you look at China, the manufacture of the world, when manufacturing is happening, they produce this solar solar PVs using what? Using coal, nuclear. They use the base sources. So at the end of the day, if we want to industrialize, we will need these base sources. So that's why I say then it's non-negotiable. We have to have something to balance or come into place when we decommission coal, because that's going to happen according to our plans.
Absolutely, Samkelo. That is absolutely great. And look, you I absolutely love the points that you raised. That look, some key criticisms with renewable energy is its unreliability, if we can put it that way. That you cannot always rely, for example, on wind, and the demands, unfortunately, are sometimes sustainably high or comparatively high to what we can actually generate. Um, However, when we're speaking, you also just reminded me of another interesting statistic as well. If you are to look at how much maybe perhaps energy that solar energy that we actually generate in Africa compared to Germany, right? If you are to look at our weather conditions, right here in Africa, look, we receive sunshine. Our temperatures are quite favorable. We have got great weather. We receive sunshine for at least 300 days per year, at least 300 of the 365 days per year, right? That's pretty much at least 10 months of the year out of 12 months. So much higher than that, actually. Most African countries can put it that way. If you look at it, then a European country like Germany, they receive significantly less sunlight than us here in Africa. Germany is a European country. Most of their, days they're not receiving sunlight. Their weather is not favorable at all, particularly to solar to generating electricity through solar. But if you were to look at the statistics, Germany generates significantly a high amount of solar energy than all African countries combined. You know, when I read that statistic, Samkelo, it really shocked me, right? If I remember very well, it was Germany generates about 72 terawatt hours, right, per annum, compared to I think South Africa is the closest African country. I think at about, is it 15? I think, and the rest of the African countries it's much lower figures. So does it not appear as if we are underutilizing this natural resource, the sun that we have so abundantly in our countries? Are we not underutilizing it, Samkelo? And yet we have such huge problems with unmet demands for electrical energy.
Well, that's a good question and also a good observation, because um, when it comes to renewable, hence why we speak about smart grid, even though you'll find that some engineers, they will say that grid has always been smart. The fact that it's able to have the power flows, it has always been smart. So they say it's smarter grid. So that's where now you bring things like your distributed energy systems or microgrid, because you have to be smart when you're dealing with renewable. I'm not sure if you've heard recently where the National Transmission Company speaking about curtailment of power from the Cape. So that's from Western Cape, North, Eastern Cape as well. Power coming from renewable, because again our grid is designed to absorb so much power. Again, you can control that with the base loads. However, with the renewable, you can't really control that. Hence, they end up curtailing or limiting the power flows, or other now, or asking plants not to feed into the grid, uh, because now there'll be so much power. So that's when you speak of your uh, thermal values and thermal flows, basically, when it comes to the power grid. So that's where I think the role of young electrical engineers and also mechanical uh, comes in when it comes to now designing these smarter grid systems. So again, the good thing about renewables, if we don't feed them into the grid, what we can do then, we can create microgrids and also uh, distributed energy systems, which is also sort of similar. So I think it is, I'm thinking about now, I'm thinking about those communities, or those well, communities which are in rural areas where I'm not sure if you hear ESCOM where they're being asked that obviously we don't have 100% electrification rate. That we're unlike Morocco or Egypt. Not everyone has access to electricity in this country. We know that, and then ESCOM will make argument that it's not cost effective then to extend transmission lines to those places. That's where we have to utilize renewable. That's where we have to then make these microgrids, because microgrids are for that, for decentralized system, basically, to bring access to people. I think that's where then we can make the most of the technologies. Again, yes, we can still integrate it. However, we'll have to be smart when it's come to integrating into the grid, because again, we take out coal again, whether it's coal, or rather, I like to call these sources as synchronous uh, generators, because they bring this synchronism that keeps our frequency at 50 hertz. So again, renewables, whether it's solar, whether it's wind, they are all inverter based. So if we bring more into those and then decrease the synchronous generators, what happens that then the resistance to disruption, it decreases, which then puts our grid at risk. So that's another problem that we yet also to address as electrical engineers. However, let us make the most of that when it comes to those communities, as I'm saying. Also, another source is green hydrogen. Obviously, at this point, is not seen as feasible, right? So people, their discussion, their conversation, their summits regarding green hydrogen. Green hydrogen can also be a good source when it comes to off-grid purposes. So we know that obviously green hydrogen is cost cutting. Cost cutting. It can be used as an ammonia in agriculture. It can be used for transportation, your aviation, uh, as a fuel, as batteries. So these sources, I know at this point they look like they are still, at the immature phase, as some people may deem them, but I think this gives us an opportunity to address some of the challenges we face off grid. Yeah.
Absolutely, Samkelo. Those are fantastic points actually that you raised, and particularly the concept of microgrids. So I actually love that some engineers and entrepreneurs are actually taking this seriously. I think not so long ago, I read of a community. I think it's also a bit of an isolated community somewhere in the Free State, who actually created something of that sort, right? And then they did that. They actually started by establishing a solar farm that, at least, was able to cover up to, I think it was at 92, 93% of their entire energy requirements. And once they was it's basically just an off-grid entire system. So that was pretty great, really. So yeah, I absolutely loved that. So I think quite a number of engineers can actually take note of this and establish microgrids in different communities where it's absolutely necessary. I also liked that you spoke of green hydrogen, and interestingly enough, South Africa is actually one of the key players in the research of green hydrogen. Basically, I mean, we are actually, I think, leading in that. And yes, there is still Obviously more research that needs to be done just to try to investigate its sustainability in addressing the actual problems that we currently are experiencing. But look, it looks quite promising. But yes, I think ideally a great power system rather should be composed of both, renewable systems. We absolutely do need them. In as much as non-renewable. Look, nowadays I think, some experts like to say non-renewable energy is no longer fashionable, so to say. But there's been quite some debate on that, and particularly from developed countries. Actually, I think in some countries such as America, some of the leaders they have gone on to say, look, we cannot get rid of our non-renewable energy sources. We are going to switch back on our coal power plants. These had been switched off, right? And then, new leaders came in and then they switched those back on. Their argument was
It's been back and forth.
exactly, it's been back and forth, exactly. Because the
Yeah.
argument was, look, we cannot just rely on
Mhm.
renewable energy sources, just like what you were saying, that they are, unreliable, they are quite expensive, and all of that. So they switched back on their coal power plants, and they are saying, look, until we get a sustainable renewable energy source, then perhaps we can switch off our coal power plants. And another interesting thing is also some journalists, some energy journalists, even here in South Africa, if you are to notice, when we had the JET, right, the Just Energy Transition. So you would notice that a number of our European partners were saying to us, no, look, let's do away with our coal power plants, right? I mean, most of our energy in South Africa is from coal. So our European partners during JET were saying, look, we can provide you with funding, may we do away with our coal power plants, look, which is a great idea. We are obviously quite aware of climate change. We want to significantly reduce the effects of of climate change. But at the same time, the quagmire that we're currently experiencing is, as much as we want to reduce the effects of climate change, how then do we maintain a consistent supply of electricity to our communities, right? So that has been the key challenge that we've been experiencing. So when our European partners are saying to us, get rid of your solar power plants, or going to of your coal power plants, we're going to fund you to establish your solar farms, your concentrated solar power plants, your wind farms, etc, etc, etc. Okay, that sounded great, and I think quite a number of experts were on board. And then at that time, I remember in Europe, then around that time, some 4 years ago, there was an unfortunate event when a war broke out, and
Mhm.
that affected
Yeah.
the European energy supplies, right?
The gas
And
supply, right?
exactly, the gas supply,
Yeah.
exactly. And then suddenly, the same European partners that were telling us now to avoid coal, they were also now in a bit of a challenge. Now they had to resort back now to utilizing that coal. Exactly. So it was a bit of a
They
challenge.
were
So I think that
exporting. They were exporting our high grade coal.
it's
The best of our coal.
the best of our coal,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I think that sort of revitalized and again, reignited the conversation about dumping renewable non-renewable energy sources, and opting for renewable energy. So it's an ongoing conversation. So at some point, I think it clearly highlights the fact that as much as we are quite aware, and we are working towards implementing rather climate resilient electrical infrastructure. At the same time, how can we best do that without considerably and negatively impacting our electricity power supply? How best can we do that? Because most of our power is being generated from non-renewable energy sources. So it's a bit of a quagmire, it's a bit of a challenge once again. And I think, ongoing research, continues in that. So other people, this is where now nuclear power again comes in, some cases we have discussed previously. But I think once the challenges of safety and security have been addressed, and costs as well, then I mean, quite a number of experts argue that it's perhaps maybe another angle worth investigating and perhaps establishing.
But again, we don't have a coal problem. We have a carbon emission problem. You know, the very same country after World War, they started the process, the Fischer-Tropsch process, where you take coal and convert it into gas, right? That's what also Sasol is busy working on. So
Absolutely.
those are some of the innovation we can work on. Some countries they work on your coal capture, which is also expensive at this stage, carbon capture systems and so forth. So also I want to ask you this question, because you mentioned some of our Western counterparts or countries there who then decided to keep the non-renewable because they understood one thing. I remember last year during G20, they were like, we care about energy security. So we often find ourselves in this trilemma of balancing energy security, energy access, and also environmental sustainability. So we are trying to address this as a country, as a world. How can we address these challenges? Obviously, at the same time, make sure that we boost these industries, that are affected, and also while creating as well jobs for people. Because in this transition, you find that some jobs, we are losing some jobs, or rather, some people are losing jobs. How can we balance all of this? Because again, skills development and job creation is also important. As much as we can be technical as we want to be, at the end of the day, socioeconomics, it's where the heart is, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Samkelo. Exactly. And I completely agree with you. I suppose that is again one of these key questions that is, always boggle the mind, if I can put it that way. Because look, we are, I mean, looking for climate friendly solutions. We really do want to do away with the global warming, right? I mean, that is an absolute catastrophe on its own that we absolutely should, try to avoid or at least delay as much as we can, right? But at the same time, also, we want to establish, sustainable, high growth, employment creating industries, and those require consistent and efficient electricity supply, right? And so far, looking at the resources that we have in our land, right? The raw materials for generating that power, right? Are they actually climate friendly? Should we then stop using them and rather opt for the rather renewable sources such as the sun? However, establishing such systems might be a bit, costly. For example, I mean, let's speak of your CSPs, your concentrated solar power plants. I think we have here in South Africa we do have one in the Northern Cape, right? Quite expensive, quite costly, right? Again, a great solution. But then a question that one can pose is, if you look at the output that we're getting from it versus the investment, is it favorable? The cost benefit analysis, is it favorable? I remember reading an article also a couple of months back. There was an analysis of a similar CSP, they call them CSPs, concentrated solar power plants, in I think it's in the Negev Desert in California, in America. I think experts were generally saying, look, it's generally just a write-off. They did not get the output that they were anticipating. You're looking at the billions of dollars that were invested in its construction. Because look, it is an incredibly huge project, right? They use basically what are called the heliostats. These are like curved mirrors that basically reflect the sun onto the top of a vertical tower, right? That has got a high temperature. So you have these thousands of heliostats around this very long vertical tower. So it's incredibly costly. It requires, so much maintenance, and then the output is perhaps maybe not as favorable as we would want. I mean, looking at the initial investment in it. So again, it is again quite a challenge. But the good thing is technology keeps on improving every day, and even the cost of solar itself has significantly decreased over the last couple of years. And we do hope that soon enough these renewable energy systems will be quite or significantly cheaper to produce and to implement, such that we can then, naturally move, gravitate towards them.
Sure, sure. So before we go into questions, because now we're about to go to questions and then answer the questions that were sent to us. There's one last important question I want to ask. I will speak about building these new plants, whether it's renewables, and also we saw that nuclear is part of our IRP, so it means we'll be getting more nuclear. So when it comes to skills development, when it comes to whether it's prospective or young engineers, and also institutions such as us, or ours rather, what are some of the important skills? People speak about transferable skills, which is something that will be important, especially in the modern age, that people will have to have transferable skills so that they're able to move. Because some people you find that they've been trained for that particular sector or for that particular plant. When the plant is being shut down, they end up without a job and having now to go and learn a new skill. What are some of the skills, critical skills, that young professionals and also prospective engineers can then or rather develop, let me use the word develop, to ensure that they have these transferable skills to move around, and also institution as ours can also help these young professionals develop.
Absolutely, Samkelo. I mean, this is an absolutely valid and again crucial question, right? Because I mean, we're in the 21st century, and there's so much technological advancements that, I mean, we are speaking of AI now, right? Artificial intelligence, right? And adaptability is absolutely key for all young engineers and engineering students. So that is the great thing again. I mean, with us here at ECST, we always try to ensure that our curriculum is in lockstep with current industry trends and current industry
Yes.
demand, right? We do not want to be giving the student a curriculum that is 10, 15, or 20 years behind what current industry trends absolutely require, right? So some of the things you'll find out that it's PLC technologies, for example, right? There's so much automation nowadays, be it manufacturing plants and a whole lot of other different industries. So our graduates need to have such skills, right? Again, we've already spoken of AI. There's so much smart monitoring in a whole lot of different industries, assisting efficient maintenance systems. These are some of the key skills again that during the course of their studies here at ECST, we always strive to ensure that we impart them with such technology ready skills or in-demand tech skills now, right? That further complement their engineering qualifications.
Thank you. So we're going to open the floor for questions. Anyone, and also we'll be sharing the question that we received. So feel free to drop questions on the chat. I'll be on the lookout. So I'll just get into the first one that we received. You know, y- Mr. Eldridge, you're speaking about the low cost, well, that we hope, obviously, not just we hope, we have seen the trend when it comes to the cost of renewable. So they're becoming more and more affordable. Another important part when it comes to renewable is to, again, make the most out of it. I know, especially as us, okay, like again, I believe we are dead world, but some people they say we are transitional from third to the first. It's another debate. But as third world, we tend to not worry ourselves, such as things like solar tracking systems, which I believe are important because you want to get the maximum angle of the sun and so forth. Like, how can we design such systems for solar tracking? And also, if you look at wind turbine, design blades that can, make the most out of the wind, especially for local conditions.
Absolutely, Samkelo. Again, quite an important question. I think it actually again ties back to the initial statistic that I was sharing, a couple of minutes back, just when we're starting this conversation, that, I mean, you have a country such as Germany without, much sunlight, and yet generates significantly a high amount of solar energy as compared to us here in South Africa, or rather the rest of the African continent, right? Germany generates more energy from, more solar energy than the entire African continent combined, right? That's just, clearly indicates, to us that we are not investing in solar energy, right? You spoke of solar tracking systems. We are really not, instituting enough measures and technologies and systems to harvest, this, solar energy that is available right at our right here in our land, in our countries. We are not doing much. We need to institute, from bid policies, our policymakers, right, can, institute policies, and at the prompting of us, some people like you and I can, drive such conversations, such narratives, just like what we are doing now, because we are the ones who advise, these policymakers to start implementing such solutions, right? We drive such alternatives, we train so many young people into it, and then we ensure that at least now we are fully harvesting these are, readily available resources to our absolute advantage.
Great, great. So the following question, while we are still on the, so we spoke about community and economic development. So these are one of the themes that we sent out. So it was in terms of healthcare technology. So as much as we want to transform our systems, and also address challenges as infrastructure and all of that. So I think this is where this question comes from. Basically, if I read the question, it asks, in terms of healthcare technologies, what are some of the solutions, whether it is prosthetics or medical devices or hospital equipment that can be locally manufactured to reduce reliance on imports, and which then will improve affordability?
Yeah, interesting question again on healthcare technology. I mean, I love that you mentioned things such as, your prosthetic limbs. I mean, and if I were to be context specific, we do need to design and manufacture, cost friendly and efficient and also affordable, prosthetic limbs, your wheelchairs, your hospital beds, sterilization equipment,
Yeah.
oxygen delivery systems, rehabilitation devices, and so forth and so forth. Because if we're producing it locally, we're going to significantly reduce costs. We're also going to shorten delivery times, and we're going to create a huge amount of jobs as well. And this also makes healthcare equipment much more accessible. Right. I mean, if you are to look at the exports, I think we export unnecessarily quite a high number of equipment, particularly healthcare equipment, that we can locally manufacture. And I think by so doing, we then sort of deny ourselves the opportunities of creating profound value through the entire value chain, rather. So if we can locally manufacture it, that would tremendously benefit ourselves and our communities substantially.
Thank you. So I'll take this last
Okay.
question, which I think it goes to both of us. So based on today's topic, which industry currently offer the greatest opportunities for mechanical and electrical engineering graduates? Perhaps you could start for mechanical.
Yeah, interesting question. Look, I actually like that. Yes. So the good thing with engineering in general, particularly mechanical, electrical. In fact, quite a number of engineering disciplines is that there is so much sub-fields and sub-industries that you can always specialize in, and that creates so many opportunities for you. And the good thing about us here at the Engineering College of Science and Technology is that we ensure that you are exposed to all of those different sub-fields, not only theoretical or academically, but also through the practicals that are clearly designed and structured in such a way that you tremendously benefit from all of those, from the knowledge and the appreciation of such subfields of mechanical engineering, mechanical electrical engineering, right? And so yes, look, mining has got significant opportunities. Manufacturing has got significant opportunities. Power generation has got significant opportunities. I mean, if we were to look at mining now, there's so much automation and AI-assisted technologies that you can then distinguish yourself by majoring in and mastering such technologies. Here at the Engineering College of Science and Technology, we help you to put your foot in already into that industry by equipping you with at least the foundational knowledge needed for you to excel in such a field, right? Design engineering, I mean, there's so much demand also in that. I mean, and we can speak of, I mean, different civil and water engineering as well. There's such a huge demand right in South Africa. In fact, the other day, I think I was reading that Rand Water loses, I think it was 26 billion rands per year due to water leakages. So you can just imagine, I mean, that on its own, in as much as it's a huge problem, but it also presents so many opportunities for young and aspiring engineers. They can come up with innovations to fix such problems. What do you think, Samkelo?
I think you've covered everything, to be honest, even the answers that I had.
Oh,
But that's true. Manufacturing, especially now speaking for electrical, when it comes to renewable, people, they all, or rather, people are going for the power developer, the IPPs. As we know, for now, they are looking for people who have done these projects, which are mostly from, or rather international people. So as locals, for now, we can then make the most when it comes to manufacturing components, when it comes to this system. So yeah, when it comes to renewable equipment, I think that's where we can make the most out of it. I don't want to use this word, but it's sort of a low-hanging fruit as well as compared to for now going to, lead a power plant project, so might as well just make the most of the supply chain. So yeah, so that
absolutely.
is for today. Thanks to everyone who have joined in. I'm not sure if there are any more questions. I don't see any question on my side. So this is the certificates of attendance. Please, this is the QR code that you can scan to fill in your details. So you receive your digital certificates of attendance for participating in this webinar. And also there'll be a survey after you have scanned the QR code, just to give your feedback. Mr. Aldrich, I'm not sure if there's something you wanna, share with the audience or say final
Yes,
words.
yes, I just want to say thank you to all of you. I mean, for availing yourselves to this webinar. We profoundly appreciate that. We also welcome you, I mean, to the Engineering College of Science and Technology. Please do come and visit us. Should you have any further questions or any curiosity, particularly regarding our programs, please do come and visit. We make engineering alive for you. Please do call us, visit, make an appointment. We are ready to receive you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.